Hi guys, I'm Nate from Recap Now. Today, I'm going to recap a 2002 thriller romance movie called Unfaithful. When a man named Edward innocently learns that his wife Connie has lied to him about an affair, suspicion drives him to discover the heartbreaking details of her betrayal. Tormented by the revelation, he confronts her lover, only to discover a degree of anger within himself that he could never have imagined. Connie is an exceptional wife and mother. She spends her days at home, raising her son. Edward is preoccupied with work, but he cannot be termed a horrible husband or father. He constantly finds time for his family and has a pleasant personality. At first impression, they appear to be a typical married couple raising a child. But is there happiness in their lives? Outside, severe weather is brewing. Edward proposes that his wife stay at home today. However, Connie already has a lot of plans for the day. She rushes to catch the train to reach the city center. After purchasing everything she requires for the trip, Connie attempts unsuccessfully to hail a cab. The wind blows mounds of debris through the streets, blocking her view. A woman knocks over a young man. Paul Martel, an ardent bookseller, lives across the street. After collecting up the stuff thrown on the ground, the man observes the abrasions on Connie's legs and offers to use the first aid box in his home. The couple heads upstairs. The heroine is struck by the inside of the flat, which is cluttered with books and sculptures. While Paul prepares tea, Connie locks herself in the restroom to clean up. The man introduces himself and scrutinizes the visitor, who is on the phone with her son. The woman is about to go, but Paul advises she take a book with her. Connie is initially apprehensive, but ultimately decides to accept the stranger's offer. He uses words to influence the heroine's movements, directing her to a shelf containing a specific book, and they read a quote from it together. At home, Connie describes her ordeal, with her son bringing a camera to photograph the woman's injured knees for a school assignment. Edward reviews these images when he gets home from work. The son informs his father about what occurred to his mother during the day. Connie wraps up the story by telling him about the stranger who helped her treat the abrasions. The man offers to thank the boy with a bottle of wine. In the evening, Connie arrives in front of her husband, dressed in elegant lingerie. Edward shoots her with a video camera, claiming that his wife is extremely lovely. She wants to spend more time with her husband, but her son keeps them apart. In the morning, the woman picks up the boy for school. Connie, left alone, reads the book Paul handed her. The heroine discovers a note including his phone number. The girl travels to the city again. At the central station, she decides to phone the bookstore and thank him for his assistance, and he asks her to coffee. The man is pleased to have a visitor and exhibits her his valuables. It turns out that Connie speaks French. Paul asks her a bold question in his own language. He then helps the woman remove her outerwear and prepares coffee for them. The guest is interested in a Braille book. The man helps her understand the material by sensually stroking the book's pages. The woman is both flattered and humiliated by the man's attention, and she decides to leave. On the way home, Connie feels guilty and purchases a gift for her husband. She arrives at his office and presents him with a sweater. The couple embraces, but their idyll is cut off by a phone call. While the man is struggling with work concerns, Connie examines the family photographs on his desk. This intensifies her emotions of guilt. In the evening, the woman wonders about Paul, oblivious to the fact that her husband helped her clean up after dinner. Edward notices his wife's condition, but dismisses it as the burden of planning the celebration. The next day, Connie brings cupcakes to a new buddy and compliments him on his musical selection. He invites her to a dance and pays Connie praises that make her melt. The couple's movement gradually becomes more sensuous. The heroine realizes her actions are wrong and prepares to leave, but the guy pulls her to him and begins to kiss her passionately. On the walk home, the woman recalls how attractive Paul turned out to be. The couple performed gymnastics on his novels. Connie worked hard to let go of the embarrassment, but she now feels terrible in front of her family. She decides to go for a stroll to collect her thoughts. In the parking lot, Edward encounters Bob. They discuss the kids and Charles's forthcoming birthday. The man is astonished Connie hasn't told her friend about the school auction yet. In the evening, the man concludes his business and asks Connie about her day. She responds reluctantly. Ed then wonders if his wife loves him since he feels silly. Days pass, and Ed is ignorant of his woman's parallel life. While the dad spends time with his son, Connie talks with a friend. Sometimes she reads the book Paul gave her and finds a place to warm her hands while thinking about him. The couple begins to visit one another more frequently in order to study each other. One day, the woman spent the entire day at Paul's house to make the most of their time together. They went out to lunch at a cafe. At the same time, Ed's employee ate lunch at the cafe and noticed the boss's wife. In the evening, the heroine was relaxing in the bathtub, thinking about herself. The woman discovered a drawing on her thigh left as a memento by a friend and began rubbing it vigorously with a sponge. She didn't observe her spouse enter the room. Edward offered Connie a drink and decided to keep her company. He wanted to make his wife happy, so he began caressing her feet. However, the woman was not in the mood. When her husband wanted to be active, she left him alone in the bathroom. Ed had invited his wife to lunch before leaving for work, but she found reasons not to meet with him. The man was concerned about the lack of closeness between them. He also observed the exposing clothing his wife was going to wear today. When the man arrived at the workplace, he checked to see if his wife had signed up for the salon. Edward wondered what Connie was really up to. The woman was hurrying to meet a friend. Connie greeted Tracy and Sally in the driveway. The women invited her for coffee, and she couldn't say no. The heroine called her friend and told him about the problem. When the man arrived at the cafe, Connie went to wash her hands. Paul was already waiting for the woman in the restroom, easing her anxiety. At the same time, the buddies were talking about Connie. When she returned from the restroom, they moved to talking about the attractive man at the bar. Tracy told her pals that she had previously cheated on her husband and regretted it. Connie thought over her acquaintances' statements and subsequently discussed them with her partner. But Paul didn't want to speak. He only wanted one thing from the woman. He persuaded Connie to go private immediately away. Edward and Bill got into an argument at work. The offended individual had intimated that there was conflict in the boss's family. In the evening, Ed decided to meet with a private investigator. He left early in the morning for a business trip. While her husband was struggling with work troubles, Connie purchased new underwear, which pleased her new companion. The detective snapped photographs of the pair while they were at the movies. Following the loud entertainment, the mom lost track of time and failed to pick up her son from school on time. Connie was devastated by the realization and sobbed throughout the evening. The detective gave Edward images of the woman and her new buddy, as well as extensive information about the gentleman. After loading up on food, Connie went to see Paul. It was pouring outside, and the woman thought she saw her buddy hurrying to the bookstore. She left the car and pursued the guy, catching him between the racks with a fresh girl. The pair headed to Paul's flat to quarrel. The argument escalated into a stormy reconciliation right on the landing. Edward decided to go see his wife's new acquaintance and get to know Paul better. The men agreed to drink and speak. Ed wanted to hear how the man met Connie and how their meetings were going. At the man's bedside, he discovered a Christmas balloon that Edward loved. The man could not stand the betrayal of his wife. He hit Paul out of emotion. When Ed understood what he had done, it was too late. While Connie was hiding in the flat, he left a message on the guy's answering machine. She wanted to stop their relationship. Coming downstairs with a large rug, Edward became locked in the elevator and barely made it out. He loaded the load into the trunk and drove to the children's matinee, where his wife and son were. The woman sensed her husband was concerned and decided to calm him down. She was enjoying their child's performance. Following the event, Ed intended to drive his kid home, but an acquaintance crashed into the trunk of his car, almost revealing the man's secret. After putting Charles to bed, Edward proceeded to the landfill to dispose of the old carpet. He then thoroughly washed the car and himself. In the morning, the man was distracted and wore shoes from various pairs. Connie noted that the husband had not slept and did not appear good. On his way to work, the man became concerned about his secret again. In the afternoon, investigators from New York City arrived at the Sumner residence and questioned the woman about her lover. The family went out to have pizza, and Charles told his father about the police officer's visit. Edward wanted to know what Connie had to do with the missing man, but she remained silent. A week and a half later, a rug was found in the garbage. The detectives returned to visit the family. Connie was nervous, so she lied about meeting Martel. Her spouse verified her statement and led the cops out. The woman went to pick up her dry cleaning the following day. She discovered images in Edward's jacket that had been supplied to him by a private investigator. That evening, the couple invited several friends around. Connie noticed the balloon she'd given Paul. When the guests left, the woman started asking her husband about what had happened to the bookshop. The couple got into a furious dispute, and Ed admitted to his wife that he was implicated in Martel's disappearance. The family was spending time together in the morning when they heard something. Police sirens. The couple gazed at each other. The woman grasped the balloon in her hands and unintentionally discovered a note from her husband inside. Edward adored Constance, and she finally realized it. Connie burnt the images at night, remembering how she could have taken a cab on the day they met Paul instead. Perhaps their lives wouldn't have been wrecked. Edward hugged his wife and planned to confess to the murder, but Connie forbid him. The family attended the school's auction. The couple couldn't resist temptation and had a good time right in the middle of the hallway. On their way home, they made a stop at the police station. The woman expressed her love for her spouse and proposed. They leave everything and travel to Mexico. Please do hit that like button if you enjoyed the recap. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the notification bell for more movie recaps. Stay tuned for our next cinematic adventure, and until then, happy watching.